Hello and welcome. I'm Bob Lichter, and I will be interviewing individuals for Kenosha Voices, an oral history project for the Kenosha County Historical Society in conjunction with Kenosha Community Media. I am a member of the Kenosha History Center and have volunteered there since 2015. We hope that you will enjoy these programs. We're with Lou Aceto, owner of S.J. Crystal's Menswear in downtown Kenosha. Welcome, Lou, and hello.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming in. How did you get started in the business, Lou?
Well, it actually goes back to my father, who worked for the Crystal family. So it's just something that was always around me, all the way back to, I can remember the stock boys picking me up in kindergarten and bringing me to the store because my mother was working also, and they used to watch me until somebody can get me over to my grandparents then. Wow. But yeah, and that goes back to probably about 1959 or 60. So I can actually say I go back to there, and that's where I started with the Crystal's Men's Shop.
Wow. So what would you say Crystal's is all about? How did it get started?
Oh, you know, this is so many different transformations of Kenosha, along with Crystal's Men's Shop. The store itself, I know, back then we were predominantly the working man's store. We were a blue collar store is what we were. We were known as. A lot of the farmers were coming in, a lot of the regular people. We sold luggage even, a lot of big cases, and I could always remember that was up on the top above the suits and the outerwear. We'd sell luggage and men's hats and long underwear. And then as time had all changed, we got more sophisticated, I guess, in clothing. But still, we still stayed middle of the road. We were still the working class blue collar store. And I think that's what probably helped us through the years, really getting the younger element. Back then we had a number of different men's clothing stores that were throughout the city of Kenosha. We had Bell Clothing, which was your better men's clothing. We had Iserman Brothers. We had Greenings uptown. So these were all the stores that your bankers and your doctors and your attorneys, that's where they went to. They didn't look to Crystal's Men's Shop back then, so they really targeted. This is, you know, and which I really got to hand it to Mr. Crystal and my father for targeting the younger people, and that's where music had all really came into play. Mainly the Beatles, which started it all out, which I'm you know a great fan of to this day, and. But they really did. They really changed the fashion world and really made it young. All the bands, I remember, now we're going probably into the 60s, the early 60s, when we had already moved from the north end of downtown, which was still kind of in the older area. Your main, where you wanted to get, was down into the 57, 5800 blocks. That was the center of downtown. Walgreens was across the street from us. Garbs was on the corner. Woolworths was on one side. Kresge's was on the other. So this is where the real high traffic was. And the younger adults, they were all looking for fashion. And that's where they came to Crystal's Men's Shop. We still haven't developed the professional man, meaning your bankers and your attorneys and all that. They were still not looking to Crystals, but as the years started to go on, they were all falling to the wayside. Bell was then leaving, and Iserman's closed up, and so they had to look somewhere. So we decided to expand also into men's clothing, and that's why in our earlier days it was Crystal's Men's, Young Men's, and Big Men's clothing. So we really covered the spectrum, and that's where we really started to grow. And we had our age group, and even still to this day, they'll say, "Well, what's your demographics in age?" And I go 8 to 108, because everybody we fill, and it's really nice. I'm very proud that we've been able to stay with that, and still take care of the men of Kenosha, Racine, Waukegan. Our shop comes from. You'd be amazed at how far away a lot of our customers come now, and that's also, and I realize that's also a big part of that other retailer is no longer around, and not only to your independent retailer like myself, but then the bigger department stores, which really came on strong probably back in the later part of the 80s, and now they're all falling to the wayside again too. So again, that market, that it shrinks and then it grows and then it shrinks, and but we've been able to shrink and grow along with it, and that's why we've been 5 different areas in town.
Yeah, that's, being such a specialty men's store.
Yes.
I'm not saying maybe competing with the big department stores, like, you go to conventions or.
Oh yeah, we go to clothing shows. In fact, I have one coming up this Sunday down in Chicago, still at the Merchandise Mart, and we'll be working down there. Here it is February. I will be buying for next fall and winter now.
So you buy specifically for your store. So
for our store, we handpick everything is still handpicked for our store, for our customer, what our clientele base is. We kind of got a handle on that, and we'll spend the greater part of that day on Sunday, and we're booked out from 8 o'clock in the morning till probably about 4:30 that afternoon, every 30 to 60 minutes with a different manufacturer, and we go direct. We buy direct. There's no middleman for us. Another advantage that I have also is because, I belong to the largest group of independent retailers in the United States, and that one is based out of Minneapolis, and that's Northwest Buyers and Jobbers. It's quite a privilege to ask to belong to that particular group. We've been a member there for about 25 years. I served on the board of directors there for about 6 years also, and that was one where we actually went up and we picked different manufacturers. They would come and they would show us their goods and see if it was right for the group. But we now, there was a time when we had upwards of 800 members, and we're down right now to about 350.
Okay.
And that goes to show how that type of retail has shrunk also. But along with changing times, everything changes.
Changing times, you think of the fashion changes from the, like say, early 60s when you were brought there. Wow.
Oh, we've seen it all, and many of it is we've seen already. Like now with what they're showing with the tighter slacks, the peg bottoms. Look at the 60s. It was all that peg bottom, and so it's making a transition back again. So much of it is just keeps on going around. You can only do so much in clothing. That's it. Yeah.
So, and you're a Kenosha native, correct, too?
Yes. Yep. Born and raised here in Kenosha. Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So, Crystal's hasn't always been downtown, then, correct?
No. We, like I say, we've had a number of different locations. From where Mr. Louis Crystal, who was the Mr. Crystal, he started up on 22nd Avenue and 57th Street, right on the corner, 5701 22nd Avenue. That was in the very, very early 1900s. Then about 1924, I think is what it says, on 56th Street, just east of the viaduct, and that building still stands to this day. I think that was 1924. The Crystal Building was then developed. Now, from what I understand, the reason why it was built there is they originally wanted downtown running east and west on 56th Street. But then things had changed, and they then had to move and I'm not sure on what year that was. I'm going to say that was in the 50s then. On 6th Avenue, down on the north end, and that was the block where Sears was then down there on the corner, and we had a main hardware was there. There was the music center was there, then us and First National Bank on the other corner.
So you think, as you say that, you think of Kenosha, downtown Kenosha as it was. Up until maybe the early 70s, it was a much different place.
It was, I would say, right about the early 70s. You know, first of all, a lot of the big stores that we had downtown had already started moving out west. Sears being one, Montgomery Ward's was another one. We had them up on 58th Street across from what was the Kenosha News. They were there. J.C. Penney was there also. But they all went west also. So that was just the start of it. And then the shopping centers started getting built, and little by little, some of the retailers then decided to go west out there, which we did in 1981.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, it was quite a change at that time. I'm going to say about 72, 73 is when the city decided to put that walking mall in downtown, which really was not a good timing with the big malls being built out in the county, which was taking up enough, and then all of a sudden that. So it was one thing after another. So we ended up moving out also out to Pershing Plaza in 81, which almost was downtown west. Because when we first went, this was kind of a great story. It was a Friday night, and my dad comes in. He always took off at night, and he said, "Come on, Louis, I want to go for a ride with you." Now, when you were always downtown, that's where you focused at. You were down there, and I lived up on 36th Avenue, so I really had no need to go any further west. And you could have shot a cannon off by us downtown. But here we go up to Pershing Plaza, and at that time, the women's store Elliott's was up there, Hollow's was up there, Herbert's Jewelers already made the move up there. Fannie Farmer, that was on the corner of 58th and 6th, they had already moved up there. 1 Hour Martinizing was up there. Kohl's Grocery Store was there. Thrift Drug. We had a Kinney's Shoe Store. Multitude of other stores that were all used to be in the downtown and uptown area that had moved up there. And the parking lot, there weren't enough parking places. And it was like this, I didn't realize that there was business that was available in Kenosha any longer like this. And well, that was a whole new learning experience for us when we moved out of downtown up there, and which is where we stayed for almost 18 years.
Wow.
Then we decided to make another move out to Southport out on Green Bay Road. Which did not turn out to be as good as what we wanted to, but it more or less it kind of did us a favor to open up our eyes to what was then starting to happen downtown. So we moved back down there. It's going to be 17 years this July 1st that we've already been back downtown, and just a great move. It was like coming home. And I love every minute of it still to this day. I still enjoy coming into the store, seeing a lot of the people that are outside. It's just they have a whole different way of thinking downtown. And when we came back down, there was what a lot of the people said was, you're a Kenosha store. You're back in Kenosha again. That was not really Kenosha people. Not to say there's anything bad with the people that are out there, but the real Kenoshans who are familiar with S.J. Crystals were downtown.
That was an iconic.
Yeah,
brand.
out there, Crystal's Men's Shop didn't mean anything.
Okay.
Nothing. And when we came back down, it was, like I say, it was like old home week. We had a lot of the people that hadn't seen us in years. And they'd come in, they'd see me, or they saw my dad, who was still alive then, And they go, they point at us, and then they point at across the street where we're just across the street from where our other store was at. And they go, you're the same guys. Yeah, but just grayer. And
Yeah.
but yeah, we are.
Wow. How about what was your typical workday like growing up there, and as you
It
took charge more?
Well, yeah, a lot of things had changed when we were downtown. The hours that we were open, for one thing, was a drastic change to where it was when we moved out to the county, to the suburbs, I guess you would say.
Yeah.
Because then you had to, once you moved out there, your hours were dictated to you. And that was from 9:30 in the morning till 9 o'clock at night every single night. And then, of course, Saturdays and Sundays you were open, which is something we never did downtown. I don't even think during Christmas, I can't really remember, but I don't even think the Christmas shopping season, we were open on Sundays. We were open till 9 o'clock every night downtown, but our normal late nights were Monday and Friday till 9 o'clock, and business was there till 9 o'clock. We were busy. We used to have, I remember one of us guys would go up to the front door to make sure nobody came in and then let out the people that were already in the store. And that's how the shopping habits have changed through the years. At 9 o'clock is when things really got hopping.
Wow.
And now everybody's pretty well tucked in and in their recliner by that time. Yeah, it's a different way. It's a different time.
Do you have any maybe interesting or humorous stories to tell over your career?
You know what? There a lot of them I can't say, and nothing really comes to my mind right now, Bob. Really,
Okay.
There's always something that's interesting that goes on in the store. Let it be a customer or a happening. Nothing comes to my mind, unfortunately, right now. I wish I could think of something.
So some of one thing, not unique to your store, but interesting part is you do tailoring too.
Yes, yeah, we still do tailoring, which is, for one thing, it's a real dying art. There's less and less tailors, and it's a very lucrative business. And yes, we still offer that with all of our purchases.
Okay, and as we mentioned a couple times with downtown, I've been around a long time. You think of all the clothing stores, the music stores, so forth. What in your opinion would be, now you talked about how things are back downtown.
Yes.
What was the big change that helped that happen?
I think it's just, people were ready for another change. They've had enough of what I refer to as the asphalt jungle out there, where people even, I know when we came back down, it was just to say hello to somebody out there, if they would even look at you to begin with. Everybody was used to looking down, and say hello, they'd almost, kind of stay away for fear. And but when you got back downtown into Kenosha, you say hello, you opened up a can of worms, you better be ready for some conversation, no matter who it be, and which is really nice. People smiled again. A lot of things that I look at, they made eye contact again, and they could verbally communicate, where there wasn't a lot of that out there.
Okay, I think we covered everything. If there's anything else you'd like to add?
No, I just, I want to thank the History Center for inviting me to come and share a little bit of my downtown knowledge on how we've grown through the years, and I'm very proud that we're still around, and we, for 100 years. Crystal's Men's Shop has been over 100 years here in town, and I'm glad that I've been able to keep on the tradition with the Crystal family. I'm still in communication with the two daughters, Sharon and Abrian, and so we've communicated more this last year than we have in many, and which I really like because I always really enjoyed them. They were a big part of my growing up.
Wow.
And to get back with them after many, many years, it's really been one of my highlights.
Excellent. What about the future of downtown from your perspective?
You know, like many different areas, and mostly all downtowns, and they're all going in the same direction. There's that real retail hub is no longer available, and what it is, it's become more of an entertainment district, and where we've got some really nice eateries that are down there. Our restaurants are wonderful. The bars, and I mean, I can't really call them a bar, really. They're nice establishments, what they've done. So, I mean, we've got outside dining during the summertime when when the weather is playing on our side. There's live music down there. So that's, I mean, even when you go into Chicago and you go to Milwaukee, you look at that, and it's a real nice, it's real camaraderie between the people. It gets them out in the open, gets them talking again, which is something that we've fallen away from, I think, for many years. Unfortunately, with I mean, even though we need them, the computers and cell phones, it's a big part. It's a huge part for me. It's one of my learning, or one of my tools that I use all the time. But you can't forget the other one, and that would be our communication skills with each other, one-on-one.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, Lou.
Oh, you bet.
Again, we're with Lou Aceto, owner of S.J. Crystal's Menswear in downtown Kenosha. Thank you on behalf of the History Center for participating.
Oh, wonderful. My pleasure. Loved it. Thank you.